Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with the next update for my Pan Those eyeshadows. This year I'm working on 4 eyeshadows at any point in time, and I do randomize those 4 for my whole collection, and the only rule I really have is that I don't want anything to be too close to anything in my Pan palette because I don't want to distract from that project. But otherwise anything goes, and with the eyeshadows that I roll in, I either try to hit pan or use them 15 times. I do have that 15 times threshold just because some eyeshadows I don't necessarily want to dig into and try to pan as soon as possible. You know, for example, like my indie eyeshadows and my more special shades, I like having that threshold. And also some eyeshadows are just really hard pressed and takes forever to hit pan on, and having that you know, 15 usage rollout goal means that I can also roll some things out that might have been in for like, you know, 6 months before I hit pan on them. So that's basically my only rules in this project. But before I jump into the 4 eyeshadows that I'm working on at the moment, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. So let's jump into the video. So I always start with eyeshadows that have been in the longest, and currently I have 1 eyeshadow that has been in now for 2 months, and then the remaining 3 I rolled in last month. But the one I'm going to start with is the one that comes from my Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette, and that is the shade Elixir. So Elixir is this blue shade, you can see it up here, and that is where I was last month. With this shade I had used it 4 times already in the past month, and this is where it looks like, or what it looks like now. So hopefully you can see that I was actually able to hit pan on this eyeshadow, and it took me 4 additional uses for a total of 8 to hit pan on this. The Beauty Bay eyeshadows are very shallow. The pans aren't usually very deep, and with this kind of shade, when I did use it, I packed it on quite a lot used to get like a pigment, you know, a lot of pigment on it. So when I did use this, I used it a lot, and that's probably why I hit pans on it so quickly. I do also have a bonus pan in the shade Vanish, which is this light shade up here. I use that to use like blend out eyeshadows as a tiny pan, but I do have a bonus pan in there. And I'm very happy to now have 2 pans in this palette, and I'm hoping to maybe hit a few more this year, because the Beauty Bay formula is very easy to pan on, especially the shimmers, and since the pans are so shallow, the mattes are not too difficult to hit pan on either, clearly, because I hit pan on this one in 8 uses. But that is where I am with this eyeshadow, so this one will be rolling out, which I'm very excited about. I do also have another pan in this project. And there you have Elixir swatched out on my hand, so you can see what the color looks like. Again, the remaining 3 eyeshadows that I have in this project were all rolled in like the last update. So we're going to start with this one that comes from my Aha Honey palette by Colourpop. This is the shade Totally Buggin', and that is what it looks like in the swatch. You can see it there below Elixir. It's more of a kind of muted yellow, I would say, more like almost like a mustardy tone. It's almost like a little bit brighter than a mustard, but it is leaning in that direction. And again, this is what it looked like last month. I didn't have too much use on it then, and this is what that eyeshadow looks like today. So you can see that there might be a little bit of a dip in this eyeshadow, but nothing too extreme. I did actually use this one 15 times in the past month, so this one will be rolling out as well. And that's kind of what I mean with that threshold, because again, you can see that I barely have a dip in this eyeshadow. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look very used at all, or you can see a little bit of a dip there. But yeah, that's 15 uses, and I think this would have taken, you know, 50, probably more like 50 uses to hit pan on, so that's why it's nice to have that threshold. But since I did hit that threshold of 15 uses, this one will be rolling out, and I'm very excited about that. It was definitely a shade that was quite easy to incorporate. I am actually wearing this for the last time today, just at the like top of my crease, just to blend out the green that I'm wearing. And yeah, I really love this eyeshadow. It's, you know, it's not a neutral shade by any means, but since it is a yellow and a bit more of a muted yellow, it is easier to incorporate into everyday looks, and I think that's why I was able to reach for it 15 times. So the next eyeshadow that I have is eyeshadow from Cleona, and it's actually the only shimmer that I have in the color store at the moment. You can see it down there. It is multi-chrome eyeshadow. You can probably see more of like a purpley shift on camera, but I definitely see like a pink going into like a gold, and there's not really much purple for me looking into it. Maybe a little bit, but it definitely is more like a fuchsia shade going into like a gold and almost like an orange. It's a beautiful eyeshadow. I do have it here on my finger as well. Maybe you can see it a bit better there. But yeah, it's a really nice eyeshadow. I love my Cleona eyeshadows, and with this one again, I rolled it in last month. and this is what it looked like then. I already had a bit of usage on it, but nothing, you know, too extreme. But since then I have actually used this one as well 15 times, and this is what it looks like now. So there's definitely quite a big of a dip in this. I was using this yesterday for the last time, And I was like, I might actually pan on this. I am gonna roll it out because, you know, I don't again want to force myself to pan on my Cleon eyeshadows because they are very special, they were expensive as well. But I do have a really significant dip in this eyeshadow. It's hard to see because it is like a white iridescent shade, but I think you can pick it up on camera right there. I think if I used this and kept it in for maybe max for 5 more uses, I would be able to pan on it, but I am happy with the use I got on this eyeshadow and I will be rolling it out. The Cleon eyeshadow pans are quite deep, you might be able to see there on the side, and when you get them as well, they are even raised above the pan themselves, so they are definitely something that's quite hard to pan on when it comes to, like, you know, depth. But this formula is definitely more crumbly. This is one of their glitter iridescent multi-chrome, so it is more like a glitter kind of particle. So it is, I mean, it's not glitter, but they are very, very sparkly. And because of that, the formula is very flaky and it picks up quite a lot. So I think that's also why it has got a dip relatively fast. But this one will also be rolling out, which I'm very excited about. And, you know, I will put this back in my collection and hopefully be able to rotate through some more of my Cleon eyeshadows instead of this one. Although it would be nice to get a break from them in this project because I basically had several, minimum 1 Cleon eyeshadows in this project at basically each update. I don't know why I keep rolling so many of them. It's nice because I get a chance to play around with them and, you know, give some love to my more expensive eyeshadows, but I had a lot of them in, and yeah, it would be nice with a break and just reach for some other palettes and stuff, but I definitely love getting them in here. But it's not something that I necessarily wanted to pan on, which is also why it's nice to get something else. But that is where I am with this eyeshadow, and again, it will be rolling out. The final eyeshadow that I have in this project comes from my Star Wars Mandalorian palette from Colourpop. This is the Child palette. The shade that I'm working on is Little Frog, which is this really nice kind of muted green color. It is actually what I'm wearing in my crease today. You can see it right there. Obviously, I blended it out with a yellow shade like I mentioned before, and that is also the swatch of it. It is actually one of the sequin shades, so it does have a little bit of a glitter to it, but it does basically perform as a matte. So that is where I was last month, and this is where I am with this eyeshadow today. So you can see hopefully that I do have a bit of a dip in it. I think you can pick it up there. It looks so much shimmery. It's because when I swatched out, the shimmer particles show up more in the eyeshadow, but you can see the dip right there, which is very exciting. And so far I have reached for this one 5 times, so, you know, not that many uses actually, and I'm happy to see a dip in this eyeshadow, especially comparing it to the Honey shade, the Totally Bugging eyeshadow. That one I used 15 times, could not even see a dip barely, and this one I have only used 5 times and there's definitely a dip forming. It is more crumbly, it has more fallout, you know, things like that, so I think that's why it's moving quicker. But again, I have only 5 uses on it, so I think I maybe we'll be able to hit pan on this within the 15 uses. We'll see how it goes. Depending on how many times I use it in the next month, it might be one that I keep in for longer than 15 uses if I have not yet hit pan on it, if I am close, because we'll see how it goes. But I'm very excited to have some use on this eyeshadow. This palette was my project level up, I think level 1 palette, right? I think so. And I hit pan on the Force Light eyeshadow, and then I have 2 more pans in Babyface and Droid Protocol, which I had hit pan on in my previous Pan Those Eyeshadows, I think last year. So I'm very, very excited to have loads of love on this palette because I think it's a stunning one, and the formula in here is absolutely amazing. It is one of my top Colourpop palettes, so yeah, again, I'm glad to show you some love, but this eyeshadow will be staying in. So there we have the eyeshadow that is staying in this project, and this is my previous color story. It was a fun color story to work on, definitely not my favorite. It's not very cohesive, but you know, it was fun and it was somewhat easy color to incorporate apart from the blue, but I did hit pan on the blue relatively quickly. But I'm excited to see how we're going to change up the color story for September. This shade itself is quite an autumnal shade, so we'll see if I'm able to pull in an autumnal color story, because this one is definitely not autumnal, because that would be nice. Yeah, because we are moving more close to autumn. But I'm going to pull up my random number generator, and we're going to pull in 3 new eyeshadows. So at the moment I actually have 1019 eyeshadows. We have gone above the 1000 threshold, and it was because I did make 2 quite large eyeshadow orders from Sydney Grace and Cleona. I picked up quite a few eyeshadows from the Sydney Grace Christmas in July sale, and I did also pick up the whole expansion of the Cleona multi-chrome range, so that's why my numbers have gone up. I am planning to do a single eyeshadow declutter very soon though, so hopefully that number will be going below 1000 again, hopefully by next update. But that is where I am today. So we're gonna go ahead and randomize 3 numbers, and again, the only rule I really have is that it can't be too similar to anything in my Pan palette. So if I pull something and I feel like it's too close, I will go ahead and re-roll, or I will compare them and go ahead and re-roll if they are too close. Other than that, I just don't want to double dip in anything, so if I pull something that is in a different project, I will not pull that in either. But we're gonna go ahead and pick the first number, which is gonna be... doesn't want to shade, does it? Let's just randomize manually. So that is 892. So speaking of my Sydney Grace eyeshadows, I did actually roll in one of my new eyeshadows from them, and that is the shade Toffee. From the name, it should be like a transition kind of shade, like a brown. That should be fine. I just have to compare it to my Pan palette if it's not too similar from anything in there, but otherwise that will be the first number. The second number will be number 478. Okay, so 478 comes from my Kaleidos Club Nebula palette. This is actually one that I'm working on currently in my deco panning, but in there I just want to pan on any shade, and I'm gonna pull this shade in because it's not the one that I'm currently focusing on, and obviously if I do hit pan on this eyeshadow, it will not count towards that project because I will separate them, but I will put that color in, and that is the shade Queen of Blades. So I can't remember what color that is. It might be, I think it's like a blue or a purpley color. I'm not quite sure. We'll have to see when I pull that in, but that is going to be the second eyeshadow. It's definitely a matte though. And then the final eyeshadow that I'm going to pull in is going to be number 607. And 607 is another single. It is one of my Deposit singles from Colourpop in the shade Magical. I can't picture what that is at all. I'm hoping it's a shimmer because so far we only have mattes, because we have the matte already. Well, I guess it's matte with glitters, but I count as a matte. And then the 2 matte shades that I just rolled in, because I know the City Grey shade is a matte as well as a Queen of Blades. So I will go ahead and pick these eyeshadows out and we'll see what they all look like. And then unless something is too similar to my Pan palette, I will go ahead and show you my new color story. So I'm back and we're gonna have to do some re-rolling. Let's start with the shade Toffee from Sydney Grace. It is this shade right here. And yeah, it's just a really nice shade and I would actually love to work on this. However, it is relatively close to Raw Sienna in my Pan palette. You can see them right there. I think Raw Sienna is on top and then bottom one is Toffee, but they are very, very similar. Close enough for me to, you know, not be able to roll this into this project. So that one will be skipped. Then when it comes to Magical, I found it in my collection and it has a pan. I forgot to check that. It was marked as a pan in my collection. It's just how I do it is I mark on the left side of my spreadsheet where the numbers are. I mark that in grey when I roll something into a project, or when I hit pan I also mark that, and then I put an X in the year that I hit pan on it. But I must have forgotten to mark the sidebar, so that's where the numbers are and that's where I check, you know, what to roll in. So I didn't see that this already had pan on it. It did, like I said, have a mark already, but this one obviously I won't be able to roll on because I do have a pan on it. So I'm gonna go to re-roll 2 numbers because both of these are not gonna make it in. So I'm gonna pull up my random number generator again and we're gonna pull in 2 shades. So we're back with my number generator and we're gonna pick another number. And the first one we get is 230. Okay, so 230 comes from Juvia's Place, the Tri palette, and it's the shade Tootsie. So we'll see what that is, but that's going to be the next shade. I know that's a green, so it will work well with the... oh, actually it might be an orange, but I think it is a green, and I think that will work well with what I already have in. So that's going to be the second one, or the second shade I'm going to roll in. And then the third and final shade hopefully will be 431. Okay, so this is actually a shade. So this is from my Beauty Bay Wilderness palette, and that is my Project Level Up Level 5 palette. I just rolled that out from that project. I filmed a video yesterday, and since I just had it in that project, I'm gonna go ahead and skip this eyeshadow because I don't want to work on it again, and I think that's also another green, which means I will basically have only greens in this project. So that might be a bit cheating, but I am gonna go ahead and re-roll because I just worked on this palette, so we'll see what I get instead. We get 131. And 131 comes from my Going Coconuts palette from Colourpop, and it is the shade That Cocoa. That should be fine. There's a shimmer shade, and I kind of roughly know what kind of shade that is, so that should be fine. So I'll go ahead and get those shadows and we'll show you the final color story. So I'm clearly a bit of an idiot because Tootsie from my Juvia's Place, the Tri palette, already has pan. Must have forgotten to check that again, but it's another one that I'm not going to be able to roll in. I did think that though when I pulled the number. I was like, wait a minute, I feel like I have pan on that, but I didn't have it marked again on the side panel. So forgot to check, and again, it does have pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll another number, and I'm definitely gonna check if this one has pan or not before I actually roll in. But let's go ahead and roll another number. So we have my number generator here again, and we're gonna go ahead and pick another number, which is 402. Okay, so 402 is from my Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette again, which is fine. And that is the shade Alchemy, which definitely does not have pan. So I'm gonna check what that is, and actually have that palette in front of me because I just rolled that out. So we're gonna see what that is. It might be brown, like a matte brown, and if it is, it might be too similar to my Panda palette. We'll see. I'm gonna get that eyeshadow and see what it looks like. So we finally have my new color story. This is what my new color story looks like. We did manage to roll in all the shades that works, so that is what it looks like. Let's go through each shade in order. The first one that I rolled in comes from the Club Nebula palette, and that is the shade Queen of Blades. I thought it was going to be a blue or purple. I was thinking one of these two shades because I thought it was like the end shade, but it's actually the shade here, which is more of a teal shade. So that is Queen of Blades here. Don't have too much use on it right now. Might have used it like once or twice, but not too much. So it's gonna be nice to work on that one, and you can see it's swatched out right here. It's like almost like a foresty green, and I think that will work quite well with the other green I'm working on to create, you know, some cohesive looks. And yeah, that is going to be the first shade that I'm rolling in. The second eyeshadow comes from my Going Coconuts palette, and that is the shade Da Coco. It is that shade here on the bottom, so like the deepest shimmer, but it is a nice shimmer nevertheless. And it is the third shadow here on this swatch, and I think that's going to be a really nice color. It's more of a cool tone, kind of bronze shade, and I think that's again going to be really nice for autumn. I think I did actually manage to pull in quite an autumnal color story like I wanted, and it's nice to have some shimmers as well to work on. So that is the first shimmer, and the second shade I'm rolling in. The final shade I'm rolling in comes from my Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette, like I mentioned, and that is the shade Alchemy. So Alchemy is this shimmery shade right here, which is like a light kind of golden shade. I thought from it was going to be the shade Amulet here in the middle, which would have been too similar to my Panda palette, but it's not. It's this shade right here, which is a beautiful kind of light gold shimmer, like I said, and that works perfectly. It's nice to roll in another shimmer, especially one that I can use more every day. So that is the eyeshadow right there, and this is my new color story. Like I said, I'm very, very excited. I think I can do some really nice looks with these. I think these top two ones will work well together, and then the bottom ones, yeah, it works well for every day. So I'm, yeah, very excited about this, and it's a very, very different color story than the one that I had previously. So that is where I am now. Before I wrap up this video, I'm just going to go ahead and show you some of the looks that I did for the last month. And yeah, that will be it for today. So I will start by putting up pictures here while I'm talking about them. Some of these look, I can't remember exactly what I used in them, but you know, I will show and talk through what I can remember at least. So this is the first look here, which is actually the look I did yesterday. This is an easy like 2 shadow look, plus the inner corner, I guess 3 shadow look then. So on the outer corner I'm wearing Love Letter from my Panda palette, which is the Modern Renaissance palette. And then on the inner half of the lid I am wearing Total Debugging, which is that yellow shade. And then on my inner corner I am wearing Glisten, which is the kind of shimmery iridescent shade that I panned. So again, a really simple 3 eyeshadow look. I really love this one. I really love those 2 shadows together. The purple, or kind of pinky purple with the yellow works really well. I was really, really happy with this look. So that is the first one. The second one is this look right here. Again, I'm wearing kind of shades from my Panda palette. I think again I'm wearing a Love Letter kind of on my lid. I think I'm blending out with like a neutral kind of trees shade and slightly warm. I think it might have been Burnt Orange from the Modern Renaissance. Or Raw Sienna, one of those 2. And then I am blending out slightly even more with the yellow in the crease. And then on my lid I topped that Love Letter shade with the Glisten, which is that iridescent shade again. So that is the second look. For the third look, again, it's a very simple kind of 2 eyeshadow look. This one I had worn all day. This was after work, so I've worn this all day, so it doesn't look the greatest in the picture because it was not very fresh. But I put the yellow all over my lid, and then I topped it with the Glisten shade again, and you can see how different Glisten looks in this picture. It looks more kind of almost baby pink, but again it works really well because it works, it has that kind of golden shift moving into it, so it worked well with that yellow, and I really, really enjoyed this look. I wore it twice, I believe. And yeah, a simple look with 2 of the eyeshadows I was panning, which again was these 2 right here. So yeah, that is the next look. Next up we have another look here where I can't remember what else I used, but I think I used my Panda palette majority for the mattes, and then I used that yellow shade just to blend it out. On my lid I am wearing one of my Cleona new multi-chromes. I think it might have been I think it was one of the Earth Vibrant multichromes, but yeah, it's more of a kind of neutral kind of shade. No, actually I think it might have been Estate. I think the Estate is the one I wore. So this is Estate on my lid, the mask on my Panda palette, and then I used to use that yellow shade in my crease, used to blend out like everything, and then I have a matte white on my inner corner. So not too many shades for my quad, but you know, it was a beautiful look and I just wanted to share what it looks like. So this look right here, I wore the two matte, kind of the green and the yellow, just in my crease, blended out. I started with the green obviously, and then I blended out with the yellow a bit. And I did, I believe, use a couple shades from my Wilderness palette, and on my lid I wore the shade Lightning Bug, which is a super strong shadow from Colourpop, and I topped that with the shade All In from the Beauty Bay Naked Tutorials palette. So that is that look. Quite liked it. The shimmer on my lid was quite textured, but that's because of Lightning Bug, but overall it was a nice look, and I actually wore this to the office as like more kind of a wearable, colourful look. Next up here I have another look where I can't really remember what matte I used. I think it might again have been my Panda palette, maybe. It looks like I wore Red Ochre on my outer corner, and I believe, yeah, the rest was used probably from my Panda palette. And on my lid I am wearing Glisten again, I think over Red Ochre, and that's kind of how the shift created, no, that's how the shift came up over more of a neutral kind of brownish shade. Like, it's obviously a reddish tone brown, but I really like this look, and it was quite simple, quite neutral, and yeah, beautiful one again for the office. Then we have probably my most fun look for the month, and this is this look right here. I'm obviously wearing Elixir as like my main blue. I think I paired it with a couple blues in my Wilderness palette again because I was trying to get some use out of those, but majority of my look, or the blues in that look, is this Elixir shade, which is the top one. And I think this might have been the look where I hit pan on this eyeshadow because I used so much of it. I think I also blended it out with Perfect Storm from Cindy Grace, which is really pastel blue. And then on my lid I actually used Glisten again to top that over there, so you can see again how different Glisten looks over the blue base. And on my inner corner I did use that Glisten shade again. So again, quite a simple look, but it looks very impressive, and I love the kind of blue shade like this on myself. I think the blues really suit me, to be honest. It's just obviously not something that I use every single day, but I really like this look. So the final look that I have is this green look right here, and I'm wearing Little Frog in this look. That is mainly the kind of transition shade that I'm wearing, and then I also paired it with my Wilderness palette again, and I think that's the remaining of the greens. I can't remember exactly what shades I wore, but that is where the rest of the greens came from. And again, I really love this look. I just want to share with you because I think again greens suit me quite well, similar to blue, especially these type of greens. They're more wearable in my opinion, more kind of grungy greens, and it was a look that I really quite enjoyed. So those were all the looks that I wore in the past month, and I really hope you enjoyed them. I did not know all the details of the looks this time. I feel like I had so many looks this month, and I feel like this month has felt like it's been going on forever. I said this when I filmed my product level up update, but it feels like this month has, like, it feels like it's been forever since my last update basically. But that is it for today. I'm really excited with my new color story. It reminds me a bit of Subculture, apart from maybe the bottom one. Like the top three shades is very kind of Subculture vibes to me. The bottom one I guess is not in the Subculture palette, but yeah, I'm really excited about this color story. And again, it is very autumnal. But yeah, that is it for today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and otherwise I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.